Can you believe it's been 9 months since the original announcement of Legends EA? With no news or trailers since, the anticipation for this game is killing me, especially since the game is the follow-up to one of my favourite Pokemon games of all time, Pokemon Legends Arceus. 2024 has marked the first year since 2015 to either have no mainline Pokemon game or DLC to be released, and oh boy does it feel like it. But of course, with this drought of Pokemon content also brings hope that Game Freak will put more time and effort into this new game and give us a game that we want to play, unlike Scarlet and Violet. Something else important to note is at the end of the trailer for Pokemon Legends EA, all we have for a release date is the year 2025. If the game was going to release early 2025, I believe the trailer would say so, just like Legends Arceus did. With this ambiguity around the release date, combined with the fact that the Switch 2 will be releasing next year, there's a really good chance this game is going to have the development time and effort it needs to be potentially the best Pokemon game yet. If the game is really going to shine, it's going to need to hit a certain criteria for me and fans alike. With this game most likely being released on the Switch 2, it has a higher standard and greater expectations to hit in the newest generation of consoles. I really believe, and I have to believe for the sake of humanity, that if we got a repeat of what Scarlet and Violet was, this time people wouldn't buy into a game produced by game developers that simply and clearly don't care. With this being said, here are my personal hopes for Legends EA, and here's hoping it's the greatest Pokemon game of all time. My first wish for Legends EA is for it to take advantage of the Switch 2's hardware. This game is most likely going to be released on this console, probably both consoles to be honest, but my fear is that I don't want the game to be limited by the original Switch's hardware. If we're being honest here, the Switch needs a revision and fast. The console's great, but the fact that we've not even got 4K support yet for the Switch just shows the Switch's age. I mean, the biggest complaint of Legends Arceus is the fact that everyone said its graphics are more similar to a GameCube game rather than a Switch game. And to be honest, they weren't wrong, as well as the render distance when flying just being horrible. But the Switch 2 could really push the boundaries of Legends EA and give us better graphics in docked and portable mode. And I think one of the biggest weaknesses of the original Switch is developers needing to compress and downgrade their game based on how it will perform in handheld mode. But with a stronger and more capable console like the Steam Deck for example, this wouldn't be as big of a factor developers need to consider while making their games. And I can only hope Game Freak have been making this game with a stronger console in mind. For number 2, the map. This should be an easy win, but can we just have one giant map like Scarlet and Violet? Complete open world. Technically, Legends Arceus was open world, but it was split into 5 different chunks, which was fine at first, but after a while it just got really repetitive and annoying, having to leave one place, report to the professor, just to set out again and go to a different part of Sinnoh, only to catch one Pokemon, and the cycle repeats itself again and again. It looks like this game is going to be set entirely in Lumiose City, which seems hopeful, but Lumiose has always been split up into 5 different areas, and I fear this is how Game Freak will divide the map, just like they did with Legends Arceus. Number 3 is more crafting. Please, please more crafting. Is it just me, or does crafting make any game better? From Animal Crossing New Horizons to Legends Arceus, a lot of Switch games introduce crafting, and it just adds a whole new layer of depth and addictive game loop to keep us hooked. The only thing I don't like about Legends Arceus' crafting system is the amount of stuff you can craft but simply don't need to, or how there's just better immediate alternatives. We all know what the wing ball does and how broken it is, but how many of you can tell me what the bean cake does? Or how about the choice dumpling? Naturally, there will be some items crafted more than others, but I found myself in Legends Arceus just crafting the same items over and over. And the system could be so much more complex with different layers to it. In Legends Arceus, the way you get materials is you just go up to a rock or a tree and your Pokemon will automatically break it for you. There's a certain satisfying feeling when this is so easy in the game, but how about making these items harder to find and only certain Pokemon could break certain items, but the rewards could be way better. This way Game Freak could reinvent the whole TM mechanic without it being necessary, where certain Pokemon could retrieve more craftable items for you, but you're rewarded with some great items crafted as a result. This would also give a reason for players to use more diverse teams, or maybe choose some Pokemon that they would otherwise just skip out on. Number 4 is please Game Freak stop holding our hand. Now when Legends Arceus came out, people immediately started to realise that replaying this game would be tough, purely due to the amount of cutscenes and hand-holding at the start of the game. I get a tutorial is needed in the Legends games since it's a new take on gameplay and most people aren't used to that, but come on, there are so many other ways you could format a tutorial, or you could just simply add a skip button. The fact that if you want to play these games again, you essentially have to watch a 2-hour movie of cutscenes is insane. This is just such basic stuff I feel like Game Freak either know about but are refusing to budge on, or aren't implementing it just out of pure laziness. For number 5, this one applies for most Pokemon games, but I especially think we need this in Legends games. And that is, can we have a little, just a small amount at least, of difficult trainer battles? Battles that test our teams and knowledge of the game. I won't say Pokemon has ever been a difficult game, and it's certainly not meant to be, but Game Freak have a weird habit of having hard battles, but they're always during endgame or postgame. Why can't we have these battles more consistently and plotted around more evenly spread throughout the main campaign? Pokemon is an old franchise, and what the developers are refusing to acknowledge is a large number of their fans like me are the ones that have been there since day one and are older now, and we want a challenge. At the end of Legends Arceus, there is a battle that ensues, and it just might be my favourite Pokemon battle in history. Even though it's been a few years, I'm not going to spoil the battle because it's that good, and everyone needs to experience this battle for themselves to let them know what they're missing out on. But ironically, a lot of people will never be able to experience this amazing battle because Game Freak hid it behind the post-game, where most players have just lost interest in playing, or they're just done with the game because they've seen the credits roll. I guarantee if they put more challenging battles towards the start of the game and throughout, it will hook players immediately and encourage people to start catching Pokemon and actually give them a reason to complete their Pokedex. Number 6, this one may be controversial, but can we please not have a gimmick in this Pokemon game? Every Pokemon game since 6th gen has had the player being introduced to a new gimmick only for it to be removed in the next game, each more boring and useless than the last. First it was Megas, then it was Z-moves, then Gigantamax, then Agile and Strong Style, and now Terrestrialization. We have enough of these. I can't wait to see new and returning Mega Pokemon, and frankly that's all we need. Now I'm fine with Alpha Pokemon, Agile and Strong Style, because those can be exclusive to the Legends series, but we don't need to learn about a more complex mechanic knowing that it's going to be just dropped again in the next Pokemon game. I really just want Game Freak to put all their eggs in the Mega Pokemon basket this time around, and please can you finally give us Mega Dragonite. Number 7 now, and everyone has wanted this since Volcanion was announced, but can we please get some more light on this guy? Or even Flababy, or AZ, or Diancie, or the man himself, Zygarde. Not only did X and Y clearly have a lot of gaps when it came to the mainline story and lore around Kalos, but what I love so much about the Legends Arceus game is how much lore it unlocked on Sinnoh. Not just lore, but references, callbacks, and evolving past ideas in Pokemon. This was everyone who played Gen 4's dream. From referencing the Azor Flute, to then actually getting to use it in the end of the game, an unreleased event finally seeing the light of day. And of course the flute you use to call riding Pokemon, referencing the sound that plays when you start the game in an original Gen 4 game. It's moments like these that make old fans of the franchise smile. I can't tell you how much dopamine went through my brain as I witnessed and realised how Spear Pillar came to be during the end of the game of Legends Arceus, or getting to know a bunch of old characters' ancestors. I cannot wait for more surprises down the road, but unfortunately my biggest fear with this one is the fact that it looks like we're tied down to only Lumiose City throughout the whole game. To be fair, this could be when Kalos is just starting out, so maybe all there is to Kalos at this point is Lumiose City, but I'm itching to see what surprises in ancient history is waiting for us to be uncovered in this Pokemon game. Number 8, can we please get Totodile as one of the starters this time around? Oh, and give him a Mega too. Thanks. That's it. Number 9, I already know this is going to be controversial, but this time round in Legends EA, can we make shiny Pokemon a little more rare? So shiny Pokemon have been increasingly easier to find and catch with each new mainline Pokemon game, and personally I think it might be getting a tad too easy. Legends Arceus introduced one of the coolest mechanics with shiny Pokemon where if one appears somewhere close to you but not right next to you, it will still make a sparkling noise before you've even found it or got into battle with it. And for some reason they dropped this in Scarlet and Violet, but I'm completely happy seeing this return in Legends EA. There's nothing more exciting than hearing that sound. What I'm not a huge fan of, however, is how outbreaks and how easy it is to find shiny Pokemon in them. Now there's definitely an argument to be made that increasing the odds of shiny Pokemon appearing allows more casual players to experience the magic you get when you find one, and it encourages players to use that said Pokemon even if they wouldn't normally use it if it wasn't shiny. But again, the outbreaks, and not to mention the Daybreak update that allowed players to pick which outbreaks they wanted, and some of them were exclusively alpha Pokemon, just made the process of finding shiny Pokemon a little too easy for my taste. It made the magic die a bit. Owning a shiny Pokemon in Legends Arceus doesn't really hold the value that it does in, let's say, a 4th gen game. So I'm all up for making shiny hunting a bit easier in each Pokemon game, but I think something closer to the methods of Scarlet and Violet would be more appropriate to keep shiny Pokemon a rare hidden achievement in the game. Also, one of the side quests literally hands you a free shiny Pokemon. I know they've done this in the past, but at least you had to work for it and it was during the post game. And finally, at number 10, I would love a bigger post game. Old Pokemon games used to do this so well, and it seems like throughout the evolution of Pokemon games, the post-game hasn't, well, evolved. In fact, I would argue it's gone backwards. Can any of you tell me what was the post-game in Sword and Shield? Well, you can't because it doesn't have one. There was nothing to do. Game Freak did give us 2 packs of DLC for Sword and Shield, but putting a post-game behind a paywall is just not it. Now, Legends Arceus did have some great post-game activities, including a previously mentioned 10 out of 10 battle, but I want more. I want to be challenged, I want new Pokemon to catch, not just legendaries. I want to explore new places and meet new characters. This used to be the standard in Pokemon games, and it's so sad to see the post-game in Pokemon games be locked behind a DLC paywall each time. I think Game Freak could borrow a thing or two from the Yokai Watch franchise, where post-game isn't just a bonus, it's actually sometimes just as big, if not bigger than the main game itself, and rewards players for their love of the game. I will say though, finally meeting Arceus is probably one of the most coolest moments in any Pokemon game I've experienced, but please Game Freak, give us a little more of that magic. So there it is, my top 10 wishes for Legends EA. Potentially the biggest Pokemon game yet, and I cannot wait to hear more about it. Seriously though, 9 months is a long time, they better be cooking up something good. Anyway, what do you think? Is there anything I missed? What do you want to see return most in Legends EA, or something new you want to see in the games? Let me know in the comments below, and please subscribe.